bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-e-sport, programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-e-sports f'pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, e-sports plus. Niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-e-sport, programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-e-sports f'pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, e-sports plus.
Imola. Round 3 of the championship, and a circuit of all circuits. It's one of the great all-round tracks. It's able to host brilliant racing from lower category all the way up to the very pinnacles of motorsport. And as a circuit which has long held its reverence and its memory of being an incredible racetrack, it is one which has been associated with great racing for decade upon decade upon decade. This, a home race for the championship leader, and this, a race where points must be scored, and scored well, to open up the rest of the season. This is, here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, your World Pro Racing Sprint Series. It's round 3 of 6. The halfway stage is cemented after this race. We've got 30 minutes worth of racing. We've got practice. We've got qualifying. We've got all that to come with ESTV, the Esports Television Network, TVM Sport, and as well as our partners Gaming Malta, AMD, GT Omega, and HyperX as well. My name's Jake Sperry, bringing you through all of the action here today from this wonderful, wonderful racetrack. And I'm sure that today a victory is going to be hard-earned, with this circuit being so incredible and every corner worth 1,000 pictures in the mind. It's going to be an interesting race today. It is going to be about who can keep themselves off of the wrong path. It's going to be a race today of positioning and of tactics, as is traditional around Imola. There's a lot of elevation change around this circuit, which rises and falls among the Emilia-Romagna hills that are here, and a place which has hosted in its time before not only some of the opening rounds of the Formula 1 World Championship, but also the UCI Cycling World Championships, won at that time by Julian Alaphilippe. So this is a place which has had a lot of storied history and a lot to go and understand. And if you haven't had the chance to already here, ladies and gentlemen, you do have that ability to go like, to go share, and to subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here at World Pro Racing. Keep yourself up to date with everything that is going on here today. Practice is in its infancy at the moment. We're about 10 minutes in. There's about 20 minutes remaining left in practice before qualifying will bring itself forward, and then racing action will then go forward, and it will bring itself into what is this cathedral of great racing. Half an hour, and in GT3 category spec. And important from that GT3 category spec is the fact that every driver can only use the same car twice over the course of racing action. They are only allowed to use 5 cars over the course of these 6 weeks. And, well, they can use a 6th, but they're only allowed a minimum of 5 cars. And that's going to bring the challenge. What car do you want to try and get yourself into? What opportunity do you want to drive? Today as well, we also race today in memory of one that has unfortunately been away from us. Jean Galea Duca was due to race with us today as his opening foray into the championship, but unfortunately passed away due to natural causes. He was 27 years of age, and of course we send our condolences over to the family of Jean Galea Duca and make sure that everything is all appreciated. During practice then, we will have a formation lap done, led by the teammate of Jean Galea Duca in Nicolai Aquilina, and with that, all drivers will follow behind and take part in the ceremony pace lap in honour and in memory of Jean Galea Duca. Sim racers band together at the best of times, at the worst of times. We're all here because we have our love of racing and we want to go out there and experience it the best way that we possibly can. And we do so here today. And we will do so as we will move over into practice in just the next couple of moments, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us here with World Pro Racing because we'll have practice and then qualifying after this.
Niġu bil-pisi tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-esports, programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-esports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, esports plus. niġu bil-pisi tagħna u l-monitor tfih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-e-sport. Programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-e-sports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, e-sports plus.
Welcome back, everyone, then, to World Pro Racing's coverage of the World Pro Racing Sprint Series. €1,000 on the prize pool, €300 for a victory overall in this championship here from Imola, the third round, the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. This a place which has had a lot of history and heritage with Ferrari, a track that was built in the memory of Dino Ferrari, the son of the legendary designer and team boss Enzo Ferrari, in terms of the ultimate playground for a racing car. And my goodness, has it been that case? We'll take a little look in a couple of moments over at practice, what is an incredible circuit which gets things going. In fact, let's go right now and get a little bit of an understanding of what this Imola circuit has to offer here then today. And I'm sure that we're going to have ourselves a whole heap of fun out there. And there you can see the track out at the moment, and BMWs populating a lot at the top of the order at this moment in time. A circuit which really does need that BMW grunt. Get yourself through what is a lot of acceleration around this place. Not many places you can reach top speed, so it's going to be all about how you manage to go up through the acceleration as you go through. There is Nikolai Akolina out there on circuit, running the commemorative livery there on his car, of course, with Jean Galea Duca on the front and on the sides, and making his way across to the start-finish line and looking to set a representative lap time on the board. And that one then a 47.9, his best a 42.1 out there in session, currently 13th fastest overall at this point. Still though, you do have to wonder in terms of a race like today, you do have to wonder how drivers are going to look to approach today and how they're going to go for it. Cloudy conditions out there, track temperatures at 30 degrees at this point, 25 degrees air temperature around, so it's a hot and muggy day here around this Imola circuit, and they'll be looking to try and really work through a couple of these corners. Here's the run up to Piratella, the very, very difficult 90-degree left-hand corner, plateaus as you reach your braking zone, and then down the hill you'll now descend into Acqua Minerale, one of the most fabled corners out here, the double apexed rights that require turning and braking at the same time, climbing back up the hill on the exit to the Variante Alta, or what is just the Variante now around this circuit, a tight chicane which is, or used to be at the time, the fastest slingshot chicane of a right and a left which put a true test into what a driver was capable of. Back down the hill again and going through, racing always with us, then moving through the two Ravazza corners, the 90-degree left-handers that end the lap. No variante Bassa here, but taking the decision to dive into the pits on the right-hand side, down into the lane then to get things sorted. It's just been shuffled down to 14th position. Luke Whitehead, currently your fastest driver out there, in an Aston Martin for the second consecutive week, deciding to use that Aston Martin for the second time, and an important choice to use that Aston Martin, because it now leaves a position where other drivers out there are going to be looking at what is their car choices. It means Luke Whitehead has to use something different between now and the end of the season. He's joined on the Aston Martin train by Wojtek Neuwirth, the Czech driver, who finds himself in 6th position right now, and I would say a fair ways at this point in qualifying off the pace. 1.3 seconds. There is still time to be found. It's about 0.8 of a second slower than Jack Alexander, who finds himself in 5th position overall at this point in time. A number of drivers then who will be looking to try and put their best foot forward and find the pace that is very much to their liking. It's a very, very tough circuit to get the most out of here, but once you do, this might be one of the greatest one-lap circuits out there. Andre Mclea is in 2nd position overall, just 0.2 off the pace. First start of the season, you can see just how much camber there is actually on that front right tyre, which is there. It's pointed a little bit up at an angle, so you can really tell how much tread they're using, and a lot there as well for Asker Shikanami, who is there in the red Audi here today, looking to try and get as much out of this machinery as possible. Sebastian Apostol as well, who is 4th fastest overall right now, had a really good showing at Oulton Park last time out, did the Romanian, and is certainly hoping for a little bit more. All drivers then will be taking the decision then to run to the pits, and that will leave then driving out onto circuit the number 2 car of Nikolai Akolina, who will proceed the formation lap, which is there. All drivers then will line up behind Nikolai as they will take the ceremonial lap of honour in loving memory of Jean Galea Duca, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 27. Teammate, of course, to Nikolai, who will be carrying the flag, so to speak, as they move forward onto the racing surface, and everyone will follow along in tow and proceed to line up and take the lap at the end here of practice, just before racing proceedings start here in qualifying. Our best wishes here from World Pro Racing, and our condolences go out to the Galea Duca family, who are watching here today with us, and we hope that everything is all working for the future. Do share our condolences in this time. A lap then of honour behind Nikolai Akolina here at Imola. So there we have our lap then of honour of Jean Galea Duca, 27 years of age, passing away earlier this week. The number 4 car just behind the number 2 is Jean Galea's car that was due to participate here the 420 was due to participate here today, but instead will be driven around circuit here in honour and memory of who was here or supposed to be driving here today. John Agius as well, the teammate. The number 4 car will also be up there at the front, pushing around as they reach the end stages of this free practice. As they go through, for those just joining us, a lap of honour here today for Jean Galea Duca, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 27. We are moving very swiftly on after this towards qualifying, and the drivers will all know and understand what is there of them. Some events are bigger than racing and are bigger than sim racing in general, and it's about respecting those moments as we have seen here today. We will move on then to qualifying, and drivers have 15 minutes to set a time and to get an understanding for what this circuit brings to them. Qualifying is traditionally key around a place like here today. This is often a place where overtaking can be a little bit difficult to come by. This is the sort of circuit where you could argue that the straights are about 50 metres too short just about everywhere in terms of how it goes through. Luke Whitehead took the victory last time out when it came to racing at Oulton Park on home soil, but he drives today on the championship leader Amedeo Castorino's home soil. So it's going to be a little bit of a tougher day today for the Go Setups car, and this should be an all-important challenge for how today's racing is going to go about. Running through the Villeneuve chicanes, named after the legendary Gilles Villeneuve, who made his move here on his last run at 1982 on the Italian track, getting that done before there was a chicane, and making the passes on René Arnoux and his last effort of racing. But this is the time and the place where if you can put a great lap together, you can put together the best possible performance. You really want to show it here, heading to the halfway stage of the season, building and gathering up that momentum and making this race happen. Drivers trying to warm their tyres up. Some are choosing to try and save as much tread as they can for the representative laps. It does take a couple laps for the tyres to reach a full operating window. The track will be cooling as it goes on here. Wojtek Neuwirth will be the first driver out then, trying to get a lap time in. A lot of the drivers that we've seen up near the top of the championship choosing the Aston Martin today, a number in the midfield choosing the BMW. Let's see how the field shakes out. But let's go with Wojtek Neuwirth then for a lap around Imola, and this is what makes this track special. Through turn 1, the small kink left, and on the brakes hard. The first real challenge, Tamburello, the left, the right, and then the left. A 3-part chicane. Power on the exit, and then try and stay nice and neat. The Villeneuve chicane is a very fast entry in, and then you've got to scrub the speed for the right. And this is so easy to just understeer out wide through that section. Short shoot run over towards Toza. This difficult hairpin through the left-hander, crests up on the exit. Very easy to spin over to the inside if you're not careful. Up the rise fully. The small flick right leads to this plateau and Piratella. The long left-hand corner, 90 degrees, and you're always trying to put the power down as early as possible. It is very difficult to get that right all of the time. Down the hill to Acqua Minerale, a big slide from Wojtek Neuwirth over the inside curves. But as he gets it slowed up, that second part, it's so easy to just carry a bit too much speed there. And then the Variante Alta, very, very slow. Right, then left chicane. One of the few circuits in the world that finds itself as an anti-clockwise challenge. Most circuits are known as a clockwise circuit. This, an anti-clockwise circuit. Down the hill then, searching for that braking marker then, at Ravazza 1. Moving through another short run before having to dab the brakes again for Ravazza 2. And then the long front stretch, which leads to the finish line. The first time then that will be on the board will be set by Wojtek Neuwirth, And crossing that line, it is a 1:41.6 set provisional time. Andre Maclea then improves that, but is improved by Luke Whitehead. No surprises there, 1:40.5. Dylan De Bono goes 5th fastest, 1.6 seconds adrift in the Deluxe Racing BMW, so a little bit further behind there. Joshua Allen went 3rd fastest for the moment, but Amadeo Castorino on home soil set the early time on a 1:40.3, so that pretty much says all you need to know. He thinks he's going to be one of the quickest out there, and he is going to prove it here today. It is Aston Martin 1-2, BMW 3-4, Aston Martin 5-6 with Daniel Stramer currently in 6th position. And that leaves Nikolai Aquilina. Set of time goes 11th fastest with a 1:42.5, 2.1 seconds off of the pace today. First of the Mercedes is going to be Ben Norton. Audi Devanagraha then looking to try and make a run to the line in the Gayatri Sim Racing car. The Indonesian 27th fastest hasn't set a representative lap so far in that hulking Bentley here today. Only Bentley in the field going for it. Asuka Shikanami, the only female driver with us here today, she'll try and set a good time, and she does. She goes 17th fastest on a what is a 1:44.1, and is 3.773 palindromically behind the overall pace setter here today. So Luke Whitehead will have a little bit of trouble on his outlap here. He's got himself caught up behind one of the AMG Mercedes out there. That might be Ben Norton, who's there going through. It might be Daryl Martinelli's number 14. You can tell on the right-hand side of your screen you have that mini-map that is there. All of the dots indicate where drivers are. That is really troublesome gearing up for a flying lap, and I'm sure there'll be a few words about that in qualifying, and whether the stewarding team that is here today might have to have a little bit of a look at it. There is Bertrand Mikulev looking to set an initial time. 21 drivers so far have a time on the board. Handful have not. The 5 cars that haven't got a time yet, one of them is Apostol, which does strike me as surprising. Mikulev did not set a representative time with that lap, but still has 8 minutes to go and set that. So qualifying almost already reaching its halfway stage at this point in time. There is Amadeo Castorino, your overall leader in the championship, the driver who is on top when it comes to qualifying in the number 1 car at this moment. Hitting the brakes, looking for the Variante Alta, and you'll see some drivers get very aggressive with those curbs, and that was too aggressive from Amadeo. He's going to pull that off to one side, and just short, Maclea moving up 2nd fastest, 5 thousandths of a second. Andre Maclea is really pushing that BMW right up to its limits, and I have to say, I am absolutely loving the work he's putting in. He's really trying to make something happen out there on circuit, and very nearly got there. Joshua Allen, the Scot, on the brakes then, trying to find some angle to go through, but backs out of that, looking to gear up for a flying lap, put the power down heavily, coming out then of Ravazza 2, and try and use as much of the circuit as possible to gain top speed, and set up the run for what is an all-important flying lap out there on track. Your order as it stands is Castorino, Maclea, Whitehead, Allen, Alexander, Neuwirth, and Tufianu. Cataline Tufianu up into 7th position, and Stramer down to 8th. Dylan De Bono in 9th, and Gergely Conchabo rounding out then the top 10. Nice to see him up inside the top 10 as things look. Bernard Bonello, 13th position out there at this point in time. Down almost 2 seconds in qualifying at this point. Needs to find just about 1/10 of a second to move past Edwin Law, the Hong Kong driver, who is out there, but not going to manage that at this point. There is Silva Joffert, who is looking to put in a very strong effort here today. 15th fastest, though, might be a little bit out of place, out of order, you would say, from the Estonian. And would definitely like to shuffle up a number of positions. In that Mercedes, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Of course, ran out of fuel at the opening round of the championship at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, so definitely wants to try and mitigate those sorts of factors here today. But it's clear, trying to warm up those tyres, get ready for a flying effort. There is Andre Miklea on his own out there on circuit, running through to the Tosa hairpin. What is I would say, the lowest section on the circuit. It's one of these very interesting tracks which has the natural rise and fall of the Italian hillscape. Of course, they go through and look to try and use as much of that downhill run possible, moving through the very fast right. The top 4 currently split by just a quarter of a second. The top 3 right now, as Luke Whitehead has improved, is split by 300ths. It is as close can get right now. And we're talking fine margins if you want this pole position. And Amadeo probably has the most insecure, secure seat in the house right now. The fact that he is up there on top by just 5 thousandths of a second only at this point. So gearing up then is Miklea through that final corner, looking to try and really ratchet up, get those speeds up to well over 200 kilometers an hour and over towards the line. Miklea that time by setting up for the flyer, and this is going to be the all-important lap on his own, so no draft, no tow to help, but no need for slipstream right now. Amadeo Castorino is trying everything possible to improve his own lap time, and it's coming along in phases for these drivers. At the end of 15 minutes, when that clock timer hits 0, all drivers are allowed to finish any laps that they are on out on circuit, and if drivers are not out on a flying lap, the blue flag will wave and will give drivers an opportunity. Oscar Saristo just moving up there into 10th position then, 1.5 seconds adrift now of the fastest time out there overall. Nice to see the Aston doing well, but has been leapfrogged back up as they go through. The instant between cars 12 and 21, so it was the number 12 machine that got caught up in that, which is Ben Norton. Ben Norton will have a 5-second time penalty added onto him in the race. So that then, as a result of the contact in qualifying, heading down towards Ravazza. Luke Whitehead goes fastest on a 140.277, 700ths of a second. The difference, Apostol up into 4th position now, so has really improved in that BMW, and there are 4 BMWs in the top 6, and the 420 machine will also have a 5-second time penalty there at that point, so car number 19 then also getting involved. I'm not quite sure that's correct, so we'll get more confirmation of that as and when that comes along. I don't quite think that is quite correct here, ladies and gentlemen, but I am sure that at this point in time, Sebastian Apostol is going to need to find those 0.2 of a second, because this is a really close qualifying, probably the closest qualifying we've had all season, just 0.07 of a second, or 0.75 of a tenth, splitting the top 3, half a second splitting the top 6 out there. Luke Whitehead currently out there, pole position it would be at this moment in time. The race to Mount Panorama continues, the final round, the double header that ends the season, and they don't have too many tyres to work with. They've got 5 sets of tyres for the entirety of the race. There are no pit stops, so you only get, through practice and qualifying, 4 fresh sets of tyres, so you have to be a little bit choice on when you use a set of tyres, when's the right time to go and put another brand new set on. Miklea looking very smooth through the Variante Alta and looking to try and draft in behind, get a little bit more improvement out there. Improvement as well then for Jack Alexander, who goes 5th fastest, jumping up ahead of Joshua Allen out there. So the two drivers then from Great Britain, both in the BMWs, now 5th and 6th on their first starts of the season. Galea running towards the line. Is there going to be a sense of improvement from him right now? The answer is no. That was a 3.97, but still has one more lap to improve it. It's not found. Amadeo is down 700s. Would love to improve in that GCM car. Running through Piratella, descending down the hill, looking to take as much. Someone having a big off there in the background. That'll be the end of their qualifying in the BMW, and I wonder whether that was thrown off the road. I believe that was the 3 car that got caught up there. That would have been Jack Alexander in the wrong position. Castorino on the brakes then as they go through. Just 20 seconds remaining on the clock. With the round, around goes Castorino. There goes his lap. And that will be that then. Top 3 in, so it will be down to Sebastian Apostol to improve. The only driver of the front 6 who is still out there on a lap. It will be down to the Romanian Apostol, who got a podium last time out at Alton Park, to try and get this again. Moving through that final corner of Ravazza 2 and making that long charge towards the line. Will this be enough to jump up onto the front row of the grid potentially? For Apostol, it's a 40.377. There was improvement, but he was short by just a quarter of a tenth of a second. That's all the difference. 1/10 exact behind Luke Whitehead. And it just shows you how tough and how fine the margins are. The likes of Neuwirth still out there on a lap. Bernard Bonello as well will be looking for a lap time. So we'll be seeing who will improve up in the order right now. The likes then of Ben Norton up in position will be gaining time. And this is going to be a really important race in the final stages. Aquilina will come over and actually does improve 3 places then. Jumps to 16th on the grid there with that last effort, but is immediately pipped by Bernard Bonello, whose time was just a couple hundredths quicker, and jumps through. Luke Whitehead, fastest of them all here in qualifying, and an important qualifying that has gone through. Number of drivers that are there, and there is Luke, bottom right hand corner of your screen. Business as usual there for him. Looks pretty calm, all things considered. That was about as expected. Going through final updates, final checks that are all there, all looking to be sorted out for racing will commence here. 30 minutes are going to be on the clock to decide who is a winner and who is going to pick up 60 championship points. It's an important 60 championship points at that, with the way that the championship breaks down. And in terms of how you score, it is 60 points for a win, 55 points for second, 50 points for third, 5-point increment drop down to 5th place at 40 points. Then from there, it'll be 38, 36, 34, 2-point increment drops until they reach 11th position, 10th position, which is 30 points, and then it's 1-point increment from that point onwards. We're going to step aside for just one moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have racing after this.
Niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor tfih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-e-sport. Programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-e-sports f'pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, e-sports plus. niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-e-sport. Programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-e-sports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, e-sports plus.
Well, there you see it, ladies and gentlemen. Drivers out then on circuit, getting themselves ready on their formation lap before racing will commence. 30 minutes. Track temperature cooling all the while. And Luke Whitehead, fastest driver of them all when it came to the qualifying efforts out there. It was a really closely contested qualifying with the likes of Galea and Castorino finding paces that were very close. Sebastian Apostol getting within a tenth at the top of qualifying. But still 30 minutes worth of racing is on the horizon. I'm Jake Sperry bringing you through all the action here with World Pro Racing here on ESTV, the Esports Television Network, as well as TVM Sports, as well as live with YouTube and Facebook as well. If you haven't had a chance to already, like, share and subscribe. But Luke Whitehead with control of the field, and many a driver behind figuring out what do they need to do to make this race the one that they need. A live look as well at the World Pro Racing Centre over in Malta. This, of course, the stewarding's room. They have eyes on cameras that we do not have privy to, and they'll be having a little look, a bit of an understanding of what potentially does go on in a race like today. And they'll be keeping an eagle eye on everyone as they look to sort themselves out. Running through then the right and the left of the Variante Alta to gear up and ready for what is an all-important lap out there. Very narrow circuit, this one here at Imola. 2 wide is probably the best that most drivers can go and get for out there as they go and sort themselves out. But they will line themselves back up then 2 wide. Be the 2 Aston Martins at the front, the BMWs just behind, and as they line themselves up into formation, they'll be very, very strict on the speed limit that they have here today, and that's really crucial because when you're going around this circuit, they are held to a minimum speed requirement and a maximum speed requirement. And basically at the speed limiter, that drops when the green flag drops, and they have that opportunity to go. So 30 minutes then to figure this out. The light's already on for a number of drivers, but as we get ourselves set, will it be Luke Whitehead once again? Will we have a third different winner in 3 races? Or will Amedeo Castorino find a way back into this one? Patience needed as they will go through. They will go on that first line there as they go forward, and that start line is so key. The red light's all on. Once they hit that line, there's the green flag, and they'll get themselves underway for racing here at Imola immediately. Amedeo Castorino trying to work to the outside. Watch out, as it might be 3 wide to the inside as they run through and squeezing each other through the lines. Off goes Luke Whitehead. Has to rejoin the circuit. It's going to lose 2 positions, maybe 4. They're going to funnel either side as they try and go by. And this is going to work out fantastically as he goes through. Whitehead down to 5th position as flying through in the early stages of this one. Fantastic work that's come through. Alexander finding the pass. Maclea through. Apostol through as well. But it's crucially an incredible scrap at the front. Mid-pack as well. Looking great. Sheldon Muscat back there in 12th position. He's got some work to do. Qualifying wasn't quite as expected. Andre Maclea down the inside. Holds on to position for the moment. And just behind that, you do have Allen thinking of which way you want to go through, and not going to be able to find anything through Acqua Minerale for the first time here at this Imola circuit. It is a very, very fast lap around here, which goes through here, there, and everywhere. John Agius a little bit down in the order in 19th position, but crucially a clean start from the majority of this field. No one really getting caught out, and everyone's just trying to find a bit of space in the opening laps to make things work. And the 2 teammates there, 18th and 19th, they're going to have some work to do to move their way through the field. But at the front, it's the countryman, so to speak, Amedeo Castorino, who is out there in front and leading this race outright. In 2nd position will be Apostol there with Alexander in 3rd position overall. So Jack Alexander will be looking to give chase. Race on as Luke Whitehead finds his move through on Maclea through that front stretch, back up into 4th position. The pole sitter on the recovery then immediately dispatches of 1 and needs 3 more to get back up to the pointy end of this race, the top step of the podium. Running through towards that Tosa corner here, knowing that Maclea is not going to give up in terms of this race. It's going to just have to be patient. It's just behind the Ben Norton car, of course, does have a 5-second time penalty added on. That will be applied either at the first pit stop that will be created or at the end of the race. So keep an eye out on that. Ben Norton will have a 5-second time penalty added on during this race. So that's worth keeping in mind the longer that this race goes. And getting some race direction, car 6 will have a 5-second time penalty for unavoidable collision. That'll be Asuka Shikanami, so she's got 5 seconds to be added on. Ben Norton then will have added on then the 5 seconds, which will be put on through at the end of this race. But Whitehead still giving chase, and the top 6, I would say, quietly getting away. A small gap then to 8th position. And Catalin Tufianu, a Romanian there in 8th position. Let's have a little look then at what happened early on. So this is Kirsten Abeja getting caught out then on the opening lap. Little bit of a touch there to the rear quarter panel. Could have very easily have been troubled as it concertinas up through the opening section. One driver just flies straight on there on the right-hand side and abandons stage right, looking to try and stay out of the way in the early goings. There is Amedeo Castorino, but it's not plain sailing because Sebastian Apostol is not giving this one up, and by no means is this going to be a done deal. By no means is this a race which is going to end up being the easiest thing that they possibly can deal with. And as they sweep through, you can see the small battle packs that have formed up in the early stages. Asuka Shikanami running a little bit wide there, coming out then of that Villeneuve chicane, moving hard to the left-hand side. There's a little look then to the inside by one of the BMWs, looking to make that move. Not quite sure who that was, but still look to attempt that one quite comfortably. But there is your race leader, and that BMW is trying to work on that principle and getting heavy over that anti-cut curve on the outside. This may have just opened the door up here. Take a driver's eye view from Sebastian Apostol. He's going to have to figure out which way to make the move. It's going to be defended on the inside, so he's going to try and go the long way around to find his moves. Not going to find it, so patience still needed. That was the first real sign of any pressure forming for Amedeo Castorino, and he's got to be alert to that. He knows how good Sebastian Apostol is. He had a podium last time out. Bottom right corner of your screen, the view from the rear of your race leader Amedeo Castorino as they start their third lap, or complete, I should say, their third lap of the race. Start their fourth, running through the left and right of Tamburello. They pass the memorial to the late Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest Formula 1 champions of all time there on the right-hand side. Moving now through the left and the right of the Villeneuve chicane, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. They can't afford to tit for tat, you could say, at this early stage of the race. They've still got the likes there of Jack Alexander just behind in third position, Luke Whitehead in fourth. Those drivers will pounce if given the opportunity, and Luke Whitehead slowly been reeling himself in. The 88 and 59, a car 88 will have a 5-second time penalty added on at the next available opportunity, be that down in the pits or moving further forward. I don't have the 88 on my scoring sheet, so I will not be able to tell you where the 88 is. But Apostol with the purple check mark, the fastest lap in this race, and these drivers then at the front still have a lot to work with. That'll be Bertrand Micallef then in the number 88, down in 26th position with the 5-second time penalty. So it's going to be a long day for him to get back through in this race, and struggling about a little bit then in the AMG Mercedes just in front. You've got Devana Graha, who is out there, Audi Devana Graha in the Bentley, and then Sturgeon Delia just in front as well in the Porsche, or just behind now I should say, in the Porsche. So those three now in their own pack, racing, trying to go through. Amedeo Castorino sets the fastest lap, or ties the fastest lap, I believe, with 2 purple check marks out there on the screen. That would indicate that both drivers then have tied the fastest lap of the race. But at least for this point, Apostol keeping things there, and it's turning into 2 races, a race for the lead and a race for third place. Let's take a look at the replay then. This is what happened to Szymon Wyżerek out there, the Slovakian. Going to make a big lunge to the inside, and the door firmly shut going through by the AMG Mercedes. So that would be an indication of where the incident comes about here. So not much that can be done. That ultimately ending up being that in the early goings. Amedeo Castorino then out there in front and looking to try hold back who is behind, going through the right and the left then as they look to charge along. Almost a third of this race already score completed, and it's been a patient drive so far by Sebastian Apostol, who is in second. Behind that in third though, starting to defend for the first time, is going to be one Mr. Jack Alexander, who's going to have to be looking behind at Luke Whitehead and figuring out, what do I need to do to defend this position and hold on to this podium place in third overall. It's going to be a very long race if it stays like this. Ben Norton as well, by proxy, is also going to drop a lot of places. At current, it's either going to be 15th or 16th at this point, and there is Nikolai Akalina out there, and his teammate getting a huge kick of the gravel out there on the outside. There is that old school nature to this circuit. It does use gravel trap runoffs, which are very good in terms of saying you absolutely do not want to go out there, but they are also very conducive to cars effectively just digging down in and beaching. There's a look to the inside, trying to get past Law Edwin, and Edwin gonna do just enough to hold on, but we might go 3 wide into the next section. They hold on. Edwin's gonna hold off and gonna go around, making contact then with John Agius, and Agius ends up then getting caught out by it. Those two are racing really closely together there, and that could have been anything. Now, dropping down the order all of a sudden is one Mr. Joshua Allen. So I'm not sure what's happened to the 223 BMW out there, but has lost a number of places over that last sector, and will have work. So there is Catalin Tufianu, and they're straight on. It's going to go one of the BMWs, and I think that might, in fact, be the driver who was there in third position. It's Alexander. So both of those teammates then have run into troubles. Alexander and Alan both finding themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oscar Saristo up into 8th. I wonder if we can catch a replay of what happened to both those drivers in BMWs, because that is massive in terms of what this race is and needs to be. And of course there are drivers who are out there who are looking to try and get things going. As a big hello to Dean Vella, not here today, he's over at the FIA Motorsports Games. Gives himself a hello. Good luck to you, my friend, as this race continues on forward. But at least right now, Oscar Saristo, 8th position. And now there is Aquilina in 17th. And looking to try and continue on with what is this race. So dropping down the order then, Alan and Alexander, 9th and 10th at this moment. So they've both run into troubles. They've both gone back. And there is, of course, Jean Galea Duca, driver today that we are racing in honour of. Passed away at the age of 27 just earlier on this week. And for Aquilina in 17th position, he'll be looking to go on and push forward. There is Amadeo Castorino, who is in first position. Sebastian Apostol in second. Leclerc, by the way, through all of that drama that went on with Alexander, with Jack Alexander, has moved up past Luke Whitehead. There is Simon Varajic down in 19th position. Finds himself a little bit away from the rest of the field. And running wide there at Aqua Minerale. And a drive-through penalty for Ben Norton. And he is serving it right now, as it looks like the 32 car has gone off the road as well. So that's Edwin Law, who's found the barriers at Piratella. So Ben Norton serving the drive-through penalty is going to drop miles back down the order now. His race pretty much all but done for any form of points. Already had the penalty to go with. And the troubles that are there. Let's take a look then at the replay. So here's what happens with Jack Alexander. Oh, down the inside, trying to squeeze slightly there. And oh, he takes his teammate. Oh my goodness, he took his teammate. Rule 1 of sim racing, ladies and gentlemen, do not hit your teammate. Not much you can do in that situation. That is a chain reaction that I think didn't necessarily have everyone there. So for cars 21 and 3, which is Josh Alexander, and that would be Luke Whitehead. Luke Whitehead in the 21 is going to have a 5-second time penalty added on for his collision. He was up to the inside, but maybe not long enough, and hence the 5-second time penalty, which is there. It doesn't change anything for him at the moment. He's 5.9 seconds clear of Wojtek Neuwirth out there on track. So he knows that he's got that time in the back pocket. He just can't afford to race too much with McClare, who has set, I should say, the fastest lap of the race. Dylan De Bono in 12th. Mid-pack starts to get a little bit interesting right now. Behind him, Daniel Stramer, and then you got Bernard Bonello, who is just behind him front. You got likes of Sheldon Muscat, Gergely Conchabo, the two JAs that are there, and they should form JA Racing with that, of course, Joshua Allen and Jack Alexander, who are both just there in front. But we are very swiftly approaching that halfway stage of the race. The front and the battle for third, both together out there on track and both getting up there. Dylan De Bono looking behind as the roar of that Aston Martin starts to close in. Long way searching goes Stramer, trying to get it done. Doesn't get the car pointed in at the apex and has to, as such, just stay patient and stay behind at this point in time. Very strong defending behind there from, I believe, Silva Joffert, who was there in the middle of all of that. Oh, sorry, no, that would have been Stramer, Bonello and De Bono out there having their races. But on board with Sheldon Muscat, still trying to figure out the right way forward. Trying to find that extra position that moves up into the top 10. Gergely Conchabo, though, the Hungarian, is a really tough cookie to crumble. And in this race, he's going to be someone worth keeping in mind the longer that this goes. On the brakes then through Aqua Minerale as we take a look on board. And up the hill not going to be in a position just yet. Still trying to look to the outside then, just in front. That is Allen on Oscar Saristo, trying to get the move done for 7th and 8th positions. That, not quite sure how it's ended up. I believe it's still how it is. But Sebastian Apostol, for the first time, really has a chance of a run here. BMW on power versus the Aston Martin's going to be interesting. Over 255 kilometers an hour, searching for the breaking point at 265. Didn't have enough run to get there compared to the Aston Martin. Now that surprises me a little bit, which tells me that Amedeo Castorino's got that car pointy in a straight line, has got that one built for pace, and right now these leading duo have their own race. Big correction of oversteer from Sebastian Apostol, moving through the middle of the Villeneuve chicane. That would really hurt in terms of trying to build a run, and now it's going to take a couple more laps to be patient, get back up there. Who remembers 2005, Fernando Alonso, lap upon lap upon lap, holding up Michael Schumacher then as his first real coronation of I'm a challenger, and became the first of his 2 world titles. But this, from Sebastian Apostol, is going to have to be some patience to this track. Just sits at that 26 degrees. The lights slowly start to drive down. Kirsten Beher, by the way, has a drive-through penalty. Track limits as well, worth keeping an eye out on. Daniel Schremer still trying to figure out a move as he finds himself in a very, very important sandwich right now between Dylan De Bono and Bernard Bonello, the 2 teammates out there. So, not ideal. Moving through, trying to get that GT Omega RPM Esports car through. And up another position, is going to look to the inside for the right-left chicane of the Variante Alta, and is not going to get there. So not quite in a position. There is Daryl Martinelli, down in 20th position at this moment in time, which indicates there has been an overtake over the last section, which I believe would have been Kirsten Beyer. And off the road, I believe that is Alexander who's gone off then, which will promote Joshua Allen up. Or promotes as well, Gergely Conchabo up a position, and Conchabo's not waiting. He's going to have to go to the outside, but he's on the wrong side of the train here. Oscar Saristo holding this one off. I believe it's still Alexander in 8th. That would have been Allen who went off the road then. And there is Jacques Alexander. Gottsman trying to get it done, long way around. And through turn 3, it's going to be tight between them, but room having to be given, and some very close fought racing. Gergely Conchabo having to slip back into line. These 4 or 5. Woo, it's getting a bit close here with 12 minutes and 13 seconds remaining in this race. Joshua Allen is going to have to be alert to those mistakes, and a little wide off the exit, kicking up a puff of dirt, goes Josh Alexander. Sorry, Jack Alexander. Josh Allen is going to have to be very patient here at this point, and he's going to have to try and slingshot his way through like he's an American football, and he's a quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. On the brakes, still not there. There is Claven Sturgeon Delia down in 23rd position, pretty much on their own, with Kirsten Beher taking that drive-through penalty down in the pits right now. It looks like Bertrand Mikulev gets a little bit of a tap as well, moving through. And that could have been just the hurry-up message then in the race they go through. So between the 97 and the 223, car 97 will have a 5-second time penalty. So Oscar Saristo then will take a 5-second time penalty then for a little bit of contact going on. And as such, this race gets even more interesting in the middle of the pack. So they go through Mikulev, 24th position with the 5-second penalty. Has Adier Satia just behind, and Adier trying to figure out which way is the best way through in the Gayatri sim racing car, getting close, and as they check themselves up through the corners, there isn't necessarily a way to get through. Story of today, it's Halloween of course in about a couple of days time, a few days time, 3 days. It's beware of the 5-second time penalties, ladies and gentlemen. They have been abundant here today. We've seen at least 4 or 5 of them as they've gone through. Ben Norton, Luke Whitehead, Oscar Saristo, Asuka Shikanami, she's had one. And really, it's been all important Gergely Conchavo still there. Gap at the front, still around 0.4 of a second. That's not changed. Luke Whitehead, I think, settling here for 4th position. But Gergely Conchavo in 9th. Look at that. Trying to get into the mirrors. Just in front is Jack Alexander. Just trying to make as much happen out there. We'll know that Oscar Saristo now has a 5-second time penalty. But still wants to get the move done on track. He's going to have to try and go very aggressive to that inside. That's late down the inside. Is it going to get slowed up? No. Going to have to take a trip through the gravel. It's going to drop 2 places for the troubles. That was just a little bit too eager there from Jack Alexander. Left it about 10 metres too late on the brakes. Saristo will hold on to 7th, but effectively right now will be classified down in 10th position, 11th position down at the back of this train if it were to stay like this. So there's emphasis to get moving here for Oscar Saristo. It is that threat from Dylan De Bono and crew in 12th, 13th and 14th. So still has that in the back of the mind just to keep abreast of in this situation. But I do want to go back up to the front of this field and talk about those 2 drivers who are leading this one outright. Amadeo Castorino in the race lead. Sebastian Apostol in 2nd. Apostol missing the first round of the championship, but having some really strong results on the brakes then through the Variante Alta once again. Their 13th run through this section of track, and at this point they've got themselves a 3-second margin over to McLeod, who is in 3rd place. This will mean that they'll have license to go out and attack the remaining 8 minutes of this race should they want to, but they can't be too aggressive because it's still somewhat in a window and a range where if you're going to go all out trying to attack and defend, you're going to bleed a lot of time here in this race. Still though, 8 minutes exactly. Amadeo Castorino on home soil, looking to try and get his 2nd race win of the season, driving what has been a very flawless race so far. Minimal mistakes out there, hasn't really been too far challenged, and is slowly trying to etch out that gap to Sebastian Apostol, trying to move it out to 1 second. That's the goal. A bit of lap traffic just in front is not going to help matters either. On the brakes they go. There was one car actually who was off there on the inside, but now it's about the next stages. What can you do? What can you find? And up the hill, are they going to be nice as traffic and let them go? One car is going to let both of them go, and then the other one, of course, is going to be slow a little bit on the apex exit. So that's going to cost a tiny weeny bit of time, but also struggling to get through that a little bit was Apostol. And as such, they stay as they are. Apostol, in fact, does run wide just there, and that might have cost him a little bit of time. Gergely Conchavo in 8th position. He's got now the unenviable task of passing the 5-second time penalty riddled Oscar Saristo for what is on track 7th position. Aqua Minerale they reach once again. And up the hill, nothing doing, but a good drive there actually from Gergely. Might have the chance, and looks like running wide just behind there was Joshua Allen potentially, because Sheldon Muscat now up inside the top 10. There's Jack Alexander in 9th. That's a slowdown. Back now into 10th position, having gone straight on. So disasters for these two, who are up there looking like they could have raced for a podium today. They might be lucky between them to get a top 10, which is not part of the plan. Sheldon Muscat now up to 9th, must be smiling at this point with the way this has been going, as we reach soon final 5.5 minutes of this race. The lead for the first time now out over a second after the couple of mistakes by Sebastian Apostol. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here watching World Pro Racing, you can like, share and subscribe for more amazing content if you haven't had a chance already on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Make sure that you show how great this racing is and get back on it. Muscat, a heavy clatter of the curbs, putting a lot of that into perspective as they go through. And it looks like one car has just fallen off the road then up over Piratella. Might be just letting some lap traffic through. There's Gurgley Conchaba. There is that car, actually. That's one of the Aston Martins, potentially. It might be an AMG Mercedes that was letting some of the lap traffic go through. In fact, it was Martinelli who was doing that. Now, car 3 and 223, the two teammates, it will mean there'll be a 5-second time penalty for Jack Alexander. Now, if it's two teammates who normally make contact with each other, the way that most sim racing goes is we're not going to protest that. It's going to be between two teammates. You don't get that luxury here. You'll get a penalty regardless of whether you're teammates or not, which is fair, actually, for the type of racing that it is. So, a 5-second penalty added on. And ultimately, not much that you can do about it. So here's another look, and this will be what they're looking at on the brakes. Aqua Minerale. So difficult to slow down. You have to turn and brake at the same time. It's very easy to be in the wrong position. But for Joshua Allen, that's why he finds himself back a couple places. It'll be 5 seconds for Jack Alexander. And that should drop him potentially to 14th position. All things said and done. Gurgley Conchaba still looking to try and chase this one down. Still trying to make something happen of it. And got rid of all of the clutter behind. Is left solely to focus on this race for 7th place. It's not going to get there at this point. There's Amedeo Castorino. A lead of 1.1 seconds. But behind and still giving chase, it's going to be Tufiano. And it will be a 10-second penalty added on for the number 88 machine for an unsafe rejoin out on circuit. So that's another extra 10 seconds that you can clock in the back pocket there of Bertram Mikulev. Seconds he really can't afford to lose, seeing as he's so far down the order. It won't really matter too much. Might cost him a little bit, but not much more than that at this point. Daniel Stramer has eyes on the next positions because they're going side by side. Muscat here having to defend on the outside, and gets close. Muscat just holding off Joshua Allen doing enough, but they'll have 2 laps to figure this out. Someone's going to be unhappy of those 3. Someone's not going to end up inside the top 10. Mark my words about it. Running to Tamburello, the prime place to get it done. Searching in the mirrors. Not quite happening. Just behind that, Stramer and De Bono thinking about their exchanges of positions as well. Stramer just doing well. Gurgley Conchaba doesn't have to make the move to get 7th position, but my goodness would he want to. On the brakes, trying to figure out a way through. Stramer on the contact front to rear. And Bonello in trouble. He's going to go around for his apostasies at that point. And he's really going to pay the price there. It's going to drop the place. With these, the stewards have seen that and had a look at it. Might be 5 seconds going the way of Daniel Stramer after that one. But still, it's about the front of the field. They will have 1 lap to go as they cross the line. Amedeo Castorino slowly eked out that gap, found mistakes in Apostol behind. Now this might be 60 very important championship points heading to the halfway stage of the season. It is at a time where he absolutely couldn't afford to make mistakes. Luke Whitehead trying to close in today, didn't get the start he wanted, was pushed out on the wrong end of the track on what was a very, very hard fought opening lap. But as Amedeo runs through the Villeneuve chicane, heads to the Tosa hairpin, he knows that he's had to work for this gap, that it's not been a guarantee all race long. BMW there off on the right hand side, but up the hill to Piratella. Sebastian Apostol has thrown everything he could possibly throw at it, and the 5:17.9, there is the 5-second time penalty for Daniel Stramer, which will drop him behind Bonello, behind Dylan De Bono, and potentially Sylvie Offert as well. But Amedeo Castorino, as he crests the rise, the clock ticking down, And it will expire as he exits out to the Variante Alta and down towards the two Ravazzas. This is how you put a championship back on track. This is how you put 60 points in the back pocket. And this is how you drive superbly in the Aston Martin here. And as the lights are on, here the headlamps lit. This is for Amedeo Castorino, his second race win of the season. He'll drive it to the line, and he will take a poignant victory on home soil and rubber mark his claim for a very important championship. Sebastian Apostol will take back-to-back second positions then in back-to-back meetings, and it will be Andre Maclea who will round out the podium outright. Luke Whitehead, despite the time penalty, will finish off in 4th position. Neuwirth will take 5th. It's still not over, because Joshua Allen now is up into 9th. And Sheldon Muscat, at this point, holding on to 10th. So, a move done on the final lap of the race. Jack Alexander will have no choice but to stay where he is in 11th. Has the 5-second time penalty as well. Some great racing late into this one. Nikolai Akolina, 16th position. That's a good result for him. His teammate will be behind in 17th. Racing, of course, in the memory of Jean Galea Duca. Racing always with us, as he passed away earlier on this week at the age of 27. An important day, a poignant day of sim racing, and one where results are big as they go through. The last few drivers then will make their way towards the line. Asuka Shinkinami will cross the line in 19th position, joined just behind by Daryl Martinelli, who will not be within that 5-second range. Edwin Law having a really troublesome day overall, and then Audi Devanagraha, the Gayatri Sim Racing Bentley, rounding out the finishes on the leading lap then in 22nd position. The flares that have already been lit and gone off as they've gone through. But some great racing out there then here today, and I'm sure that for the number of drivers that are here, they've been thinking about, okay, this has been an important third round of the championship, the halfway stage. No doubt Amedeo Castorino has the lead overall, but it is going to be a similar sort of feel from one week to the next. We head to Kyalami, which is one of the most underrated tracks in all of racing, and produces a great showcase. That's going to be where we're going to be heading next, which is in 2 weeks from today. November 11th is the time and the place. So 11/11, that's when we're next racing with you and World Pro Racing, be it ESTV, be it TVM Sport, Gaming Malta, AMD, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, be it on YouTube, be it as well out there overall on Facebook as well. An incredible day, an important day in terms to how sim racing went about itself today. And the most important thing has been that sense of togetherness from this community. We have seen some wonderful racing out there, and racing in the memory today of Jean Galea Duca, passing away earlier on over the course of the week. But I'm not sure if we're going to get driver interviews today. I'll be quite frank and honest about that. I'm not sure if we're going to get drivers in to have a little bit of conversation with. I believe we are. I'm just hearing in my ear that we are going to have that chance to speak to some of our drivers today who are out there and had such an all-important result. But right now, it stands to a testament that it's been all about patience. And the patience that was shown at the front of the field was really quite something. The likes of Amedeo Castorino did pretty much everything that was necessary today to hold on to that result, get the result that was needed, to force Sebastian Apostol into pushing a little bit too hard and just finding a couple of mistakes. And it's so easy to do out there in sim racing, just to miss a braking point by 2 meters, by 5 meters. The wind direction might have slightly changed, meaning you're carrying slightly more momentum up the hill. But it was just enough. And I think it's key. Really, just enough moves were done in order to really pick up the right move, the right overtake, the right place at the right time. It's not really much more that could be argued in terms of this victory. This was a very solid performance top to bottom, start to finish, and you can't really argue too much about it there that Sebastian Apostol didn't do enough to get the victory off of Amedeo Castorino. But you look further down to the likes of Luke Whitehead, for example. This has been the sort of race here today for him that he really wishes he could have back. Started on pole position, wanted to push forward, wanted to gain spots, and ultimately dropped back a couple places, back into fifth. Had to work hard to get back through the field. And one small bit of contact later, trying to get up the inside at Piratella, and his race is confirmed to fourth position, resigned, you could say, to fourth position. And after running out of fuel at Spa, would have been on the back foot and would have really have liked to have picked up a result at Spa, but getting the fuel numbers wrong, yourself on the back foot, that's how you put yourself in trouble for championships like this one. It can very easily go the wrong way if you're not too careful. There were some good drives, though, up and down the order, and first and foremost, one of them was from the driver who finished in third position, joining me now, Andre McClare, here with me. Andre, opening lap, first place to really touch base on, a good qualifying, but very, very hectic in and around with the way that Tamburello worked out. Just talk us through the opening lap from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks for that. The first lap I got boxed in at the start on the inside. And also many cars around me, I had FPS drops, so it was kind of sketchy at the start. And then I had to climb back from like P5, and it was kind of a mess of a race.
Well, you were able to climb back up. You got yourself into P3 through a little bit of magic, of course. There was a bit of contact between Luke and Jack just in front of you. How were you able to pick up the pieces from that and find your way up into third position?
Yeah, I just had to find my groove and calm down a bit. I was a bit hot-headed at the start for losing many positions, and I just calmed myself down and started putting in those laps, and it worked out in the end.
And putting in the right laps, Luke having a 5-second time penalty behind you gave you that buffer. In terms of for you and one of your first starts of the season here, how important is this third place to establish tempo?
Oh, it's incredibly important for me. Like I had quite some expectations for this race, and I have to say I'm pleased with the final result.
I would be as well if I got third place. Before we let you go, Andre, shout out sponsors. Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank our manager, Alex Shiklovan, and yeah, that's it. And my teammate Seb Apostol for doing a great job.
Well, the good news is for you, that third position is brilliant. The one thing I can say is that your teammate's in second position and is joining me right now, Sebastian Apostol, here in second position overall. Now, Sebastian, the good news for you is that you made positions early in that race. You got yourself up to second. The even better news was the fact that you built and bridged that gap between yourself and Amedeo Castorino. The bad news is that you struggled to find an overtake. Was he just covering up all the right positions in all the right places?
Yeah, I would guess so, yeah. I think that Aston had a little more on the top end. Straight line speed, just couldn't do any moves.
Go ahead, sorry.
He wasn't doing mistakes when I was close to him, but when I was like 5 tenths behind, and it wouldn't get me anything, so yeah.
Talk to me then through the decision making of choosing the BMW. Of course, you've always got to choose a different car except for one race. What brought you to the BMW? What made you think that was the car of choice today around this Imola track?
Well, considering I only made the BMW on like every track, I had a lot of experience with it. I don't think taking Aston was a good choice for me right now. I was told to save it. Yeah, I would have chosen M4 anyway. I think it's a really good car here, even it was nerfed. And it showed today that it had pace, yeah, definitely.
Definitely go with the car that you're comfortable with. So, taking back-to-back second-place positions, moving forward now, you've got your eyes on Kyalami in 2 weeks. In terms of how you go and approach that track, what lessons can you take from today at Imola and a strong second-place performance to go and gain that extra position when it comes to South Africa?
I don't know. I think I will have to learn a new car for Kyalami, that's for sure. I don't know. We'll have to see. I think the Porsche is quick here, Kyalami. That's definitely not a car I would choose for any race, but yeah, I will have to learn it if I want to be up there again.
Well, hopefully we'll see you back up here again. Sebastian Apostol, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Just as Andrei said, I want to thank the team and the team manager. Same for the help from the boys. Jack and Joshua, they did a really great setup for this race, and I want to thank them as well.
Yeah, no worries at all there. Sebastian Apostol joining us, finishing off in second position, but winning this race outright for the second time this season, Amedeo Castorino. Now, Amedeo, you'd say in this race that you had to make a lot of work in the early stages, and that was no more proof than the opening 3 corners. Just how difficult is it on those opening couple of corners when you're side by side off at the start, you're side by side into Tamburello? How do you look to go and win the initiative when it comes to a battle like that between you and Luke?
Good night. Good evening, sorry. And on the start, I tried to attack Duke because I think this is my only chance to win the race, is overtaking on turn 1 on first lap. And we are side by side on Tamburello, and you know, if nobody lift the throttle, 2 cars are not able to pass on Tamburello. And yeah, I think I do my best for the space. I think Luke do the same. He do always we can, but 2 cars is impossible to pass side by side, and unfortunately Luke lose a bit of position. And yeah, for the rest of the race I have a very bad feeling with the car, but I can manage the position because on Imola it's very hard to overtake, and the Aston have a bit of top speed on the straight, so they helped me to defend by Apostol.
So you had that ability to effectively defend those positions, but did you feel like at any point during that race that, you know, you were just constantly there, you had Sebastian behind you? Was it maybe the moment that he went off through the Acqua Minerale that gave you the opportunity to say, right, I can now start to think about building a gap in this race?
Yeah. When I see his mistake, I'm a little bit, yeah, I think create a small gap for stay safe from any mistake by me, and don't give to Apostol the possibility to overtake me.
Well, you've got 2 wins now in your first 3 starts here. You've got a commanding lead at the top of the championship. You head to Kyalami in 2 weeks. Is this going to be a case of you looking for a 3rd straight victory, or are you thinking maybe of just trying to put yourself in a position where, you know, if the pace is there, you go for the win, but if it's not, just a solid performance is just going to keep you ticking over in this championship?
Next race on Kyalami, I have a good feeling with this track, and I think the race is very similar to Imola, and I try to win the race, but not take a stupid risk.
Well, we'll see a conservative approach then from Amedeo. Mark our words then, ladies and gentlemen. But Amedeo, before we let you go, is there anybody you would like to thank?
Yeah, I can thank for my team because he helped me on the setup of the car, and in Imola is very important. Yeah, and that's all.
No worries at all then. A fantastic setup, fantastic drive. Amedeo Castorino on home soil, virtual home soil, picking up the victory then here today from Imola. But that is going to bring the curtains down for what is an all-important performance here today on a day where it was a lot bigger than just the sim racing effort that was out there. A massive thanks that goes to all the crew behind the scenes, the stewards, and of course the race directors as well. Everyone behind the scenes has been working hard, and everybody here from the team at WPR Racing sends our condolences to the family of Jean Galea Duca, and what has been an all-important race out there as well, to his family, to his friends, and a massive thank you as well to Nicolai Aquilina for the incredible gesture that we've seen here today. Jean Galea Duca passing away at the age of 27 earlier on this year. From us, though, here with World Pro Racing, be it YouTube, Facebook, ESTV or TVM Sport, thank you so much for joining us for the third round. Halfway stage has been score complete. It is Amadeo Castorino who is head and shoulders above the rest, but it's a very close packed field, and Kyle Army will be a real test coming up.
Niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex, għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-esports, programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-esports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, esports Plus. niġu bil-PC tagħna u l-monitor fih daqsiex għas missieri ma kien jifilħu. Ħanerġa' ninsa għax weħlet li ma nistax kif ukoll. Wasal iż-żmien li nħolqu programm dedikat tal-esports, programm fejn ħanitkellmu fuq ħafna affarijiet, edukazzjoni, saħħa, l-industrija tax-xogħol, però l-iktar ħaġa importanti li nippromovu l-esports pajjiżna għaliex intom kapaċi. Mela tinsewniex, eSports Plus.